Well, good morning. How are you all today? And welcome to American Reversion. What's next? What's coming next? Huh? I'm sure you all watched. I think I mentioned this before. That disastrous, at least from the Democrat side, that horrendous uh, debate. Uh, can you even call it a debate? Well, maybe. But boy, it was something, right? It was cringe worthy. And then a lot of, I mean, it worked out. At least we think that it worked out well for us. Kind of depends on what's happening next, doesn't it? So the story is that the Biden family uh, retreated to Camp David to have a big discussion on what lays ahead for Mumbles and family and his former babysitter and all of that and what they want to do. And that probably comes down to what Jill wants to do, right? Dr. Jill, what we called. She's a great doctor. She should be Surgeon General. You all remember all these stupid things? I bet you all do. What we need to do is we need to use these examples on a daily basis with people who may not be aware of these things, because people can be swayed. They sometimes can't be swayed easily, but they can be swayed. And it just takes, consistency on our part to do it, and we have to do that. That's the fight that we're in. Hopefully, that's the fight that will remain, and we won't have to get into another kind of fight, because that's not going to be any fun for anyone. But we need to be involved in this. So if you have friends who say, "Well, I'm tired of politics, and I just don't. I think they're all a bunch of morons," and I can't argue with that. But you need to try to get them involved, because the ones who are not involved are working for the enemy simply by not being involved. And those who are kind of on the other side but wishy-washy in the other way, they can be swayed. So let's try to do that. So what's coming up? There's a lot of thoughts. What's coming is going to show us what our country is. Now, many of you say, well, it's beyond redemption, it's beyond hope. I'm not going to argue with that. I've thought that since the 80s, I'll be real honest. Yes, I keep being hopeful about what can be done, simply because, I think that it makes more sense to fight than to give up. It's, I mean, if you take in a whaling and your choice is to fight or give up, you're going to get the same beating. But why not fight, right? Why not roll over? And we do have a guy right now who is a fighter, and that's Trump. And he's coming out swinging, as he always does. He's fun to watch, isn't he? He really is. I think I've said this. I've been watching him fairly closely since he put out his first book. And the guy's an impressive guy, and a lot of people don't realize that. He talks. I know that and watching the debate, he talks kind of all over the place. You're never sure where he's going with it, and so he can sound kind of dumb to people who want to say that he sounds dumb, but he's not. He is one of the sharpest tools in the box, and this goes clear back to when he was a youngin'. He was first cadet at the New York Military Academy. You don't get there for being a dummy. And he's been a worker, an achiever, and a fighter ever since. So for those people who say, well, I can't support him because of this, because of that, because of whatever, you're missing the boat. You are missing the boat, because he is the first one in many, 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 many years that has actually fought for some consistency in trying to bring our country back to the constitutional basis on which we started. Many people will say, well, most people, let me put it this, most people love the Constitution. I don't really love the Constitution. I'm more of an Articles of Confederation guy. But, the Constitution worked for a long time for most people. You can say that the seeds of our demise were found within the Constitution. I won't necessarily argue that. But I'll say that our country has gotten far afield from the way that our founders envisioned it and wanted it to be. and tried to build it and at least start it. They set a good foundation, and it's been subsequent generations who have brought it down, 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 down. So the fight is on for real now. It's this is when it starts. And oh, by the way, I haven't shown you this for a while. Let me take a sip. This is our latest mug for anybody who's interested. I showed this once before, I think a couple of months ago, but then I pulled it and I said, nah, I don't want to really talk about this because it's not time. Well, now it's time. Say it with a mug. These are on our website now, I believe. Make America Great Again, again. Because he did it once and then he did it the other time. And on the sidebar is the stripe MAGA. I made that up. MAGAA, Make America Great Again, again. And of course 45 and 47, which we fully hope that will happen. I've always carried a 45. The number 45 I've always liked, right? Maybe Smith or somebody will come out with a 47 caliber and I'll buy one of those. Get you one or two or buy one for a friend. They'll like it. So Joe's up at Camp David, letting Jill tell him what to do. People are in the wings. Everybody's crumbling on Biden. All of the inner work. It's finally coming out now that people in the White House are admitting. Remember all those people that says he's got more energy than the Energizer Bunny, and he thinks rings around everybody, and he is just this, and he is so wonderful, and he's all this, and they're finally admitting, well, no, we kind of lied about that. He's functional about 6 hours a day, and we've been covering for him, and you know why? Because now it's out for the world to see, and now they're covering their butts because they used to believe, well, they knew that their future was linked up with him. They were going to ride Joe's coattails. Well, when they see Joe go down in flames, they want off of those coattails. So now they're scrambling. It's like the little rats off the Titanic, and we got to get out of here. We got to get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, remember that song? So they are bailing right and left. The Democrats are functionally non-functional right now, and they're scrambling. What are they going to do? Steve Bannon reports to prison today. This is Monday, and he says he doesn't care. He's ready. He's going for a fight. He's ready to fight it back there. The Supreme Court just came down with their decision, essentially throwing out a lot of is fighting in favor of the J6 people. That helps Trump tremendously. They've also come down with they're not going to be able to get his trial done before the election, which helps him a lot. Fact is, he's on a roll. He's got his sentencing coming up. July 11th, I think it is. 2 days before the Integrative Preparedness Gathering. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to kind of see what's going on. It won't be as fun as the gathering itself, but it'll be fun to watch the sentencing and see what happens there. We've probably never lived in a time like this time. I won't say that I'm a doctoral level historian, but I have a passing knowledge. I have a pretty good, knowledge of history. Some of you, may know more than I do. I'm not saying that I know it all. But if I really look back on our history and I saw the many different things that are playing on the same board at the same time, I'd have to say I don't think there's been a time like this. Whether it's the war jacking up in Russia, Ukraine, or Israel, Iran, and Israel and everybody else, and China, Taiwan, and our border being open, and Joe and friends inviting in all the true insurrectionists, those who will attack from the inside when they are given the word, and then such a failing presidency, such corruption. Now, corruption isn't new in our country or in our government. Everybody knows that the corruption. You can find corruption everywhere, but it's gotten to a point that it can no longer be ignored. Kind of like Joe's dementia, it cannot be ignored anymore. And anybody with any sense of justice has to realize, has to accept that there has to be a major change made in this country. And we talk about, a reversion, an American reversion. It has to be, somehow has to be brought back either to the way it was meant to be or something entirely new, something entirely different. There's no going along this path that we're on any further and still have any hope that future generations are going to live in any semblance of freedom and personal liberty. And so that's why this fight is so important. We do have a fighter. Let me talk for a minute about Trump. Those who say that he is, what do they say? What do they call it? Some opposition. The word's escaping me right now. It's a rainy day and I'm sleepy. Controlled opposition. I'm sure one of you already typed it in to tell me. They will say he's controlled opposition. I will say I don't believe that for a minute, and it doesn't mean that I didn't consider that. When somebody puts something out, I think about it. I don't just immediately dismiss it. And I would suggest that there's some out there, not you, but the guy behind you, who might want to follow that instead of just knee-jerking with opinions. Consider things. And so I did consider that. And I said, no, he's not. He's not controlled opposition. This is a guy who actually loves America, who has been very successful. He loves America because he believes in the principles, and he's been very successful in business. And that's the problem. You look at the Republicans and you look at the Democrats, and you see where the division is. You look at Republicans, you have a lot of business owners, okay, doctors. There's some lawyers, and I won't say that lawyers are, know nothing, and because there's plenty of good, believe it or not, there's plenty of good lawyers. I know some good lawyers, and everybody should have one. But these are people who actually were in, well, how should I say, the business world. Okay, they know how business works. They know how it runs. They don't make their money off of other people. They make their money from delivering services to other people. And that's an important distinction. And that's being led by the Don himself. Okay, you look on the Democrat side, and what do you have? You have a bunch of lawyers and ex-bartenders and community activists and community organizers. You believe that we had a president whose main thing was being a community organizer? Do you believe that? I mean, and how much of America he destroyed? It is unbelievable. Trump fixed a lot of it. And for those of you who are Trump deniers and say he's controlled opposition, I think you need to go back. I don't think I finished my thought. You need to consider the facts. You need to look into it rather than just go, blah, 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 blah. Okay. He's a fighter. He loves America. He loves business. He knows how to do things. That's why he was successful when he had pretty much the entire political machine against him and half of the country. People lying and having an effect on other people. He had all the Democrats. He had half the Republicans. He had all the deep state, almost all of the senior level military, and all of the senior level intelligence officers against him. And he's still fighting. He's still got an unbelievable amount done. Now, the reason that I have a lot of hope for his second term is that I think he learned a lot. The thing about Trump is he's constantly learning, and he will admit to his mistakes. He doesn't admit to a lot of them in his speeches, or he's not going to admit to many now. But read his books, and you'll see an amazing learning process going on there. He didn't build an empire by being stupid. And nor did he build an empire by giving in. He built it by fighting and being smart. That's what more of us need to do. We need to be smart and we need to fight. And how do we fight? Well, we fight by being involved and engaging in the political process. And what that means also is the information process. You talking and convincing people. You talking to friends. You talking at work. You talking wherever you can talk. You know, I love it. Whenever I went down to Home Depot yesterday, and I was wearing a Confederate t-shirt and my Trump cap. And you know, people look at it and you can tell it. I can't tell you how many people have come up and say, I like your hat. I like your shirt. And so when I'm out and about like that, I will make sure to do a lot of the short stops. You know, I stop at a grocery store for one thing. I'll say, there's another grocery store. I don't really need anything, but I'm going to go in there and pick up one thing, and I will walk around and I will smile at everybody. And they will see a nice smiling guy smiling at them wearing a Trump cap. You know, don't tell me it doesn't have an effect. It's advertising. Okay. That's why Coca-Cola puts Coke on the sides of all their trucks. Why do you think they put their name up there? You put a name up in front of people and it has an effect. Okay. They will say, that guy's not ashamed to wear a Trump cap. Now, I don't suggest you wear it any place you're going to go eat. Okay. Or, what else might be a place not to wear it? Well, I don't wear it when I'm going, or even through a drive-through. You know, I don't want somebody spitting in my burger. Not that I eat many burgers, but fly the flag. Get out there and do something. And for the people who are kind of, you know, think the way we do, they're going to enjoy seeing it, whether they say anything to you or not. They're going to feel strengthened by knowing that there's somebody else out there promoting what we believe in. And for the other side, oh man, you know, all the ones with their shirts about, well, I won't get into that. But you know what I'm talking about, right? It's going to be like a shot across the bow to them. I can't believe they'll say, I can't believe that he's actually doing that in public. Yeah. Hey, you know, if they say anything to you, it gives you a chance to promote our side. And that's your job. I mean, if you care about turning this country around, that's the easiest fight to have. You know, the battle of words is a lot easier than any other kind of battle. It's your right, and if you want to be a good citizen, it's your responsibility. It is. And the problem in our country is that too many people think that they have satisfied their civic responsibility simply by voting. Well, and others, you know, don't even do that. They think they've satisfied their civic responsibility by grumbling. Grumble, grumble, grumble. I don't vote, but I can grumble. Those people need to take a hard look inside themselves, because those people, they don't stand for anything. They act like they do, but they don't stand for anything. Okay, you remember Edmund Burke's famous saying that so many love to quote, and that is, all that's necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Well, how much are you doing? Are you doing a little bit more than nothing? Hopefully. If you're doing nothing, you're helping the oppressor. You know, silence always helps the oppressor, never the oppressed. Well, we are oppressed. And the powers that be and our current government structure and the deep state, those are our oppressors. And if you're just being quiet about it, except in your own home or amongst that small group that everybody agrees with you, to where you can grumble, 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 well, you're not doing anything. And if you're not doing anything in the face of oppression, my question is this. I won't accuse anybody out there of anything, but I've always said that anyone who does not do anything in the face of oppression cannot consider themselves good. Now, I'm sure that all of you are good, and you probably consider yourself good. Hopefully you do. That means that you're doing something, right? That means you have to do something. You have to get out there and take a stand. You have to do more than vote. You have to try to influence others positively. And that means through reason, through knowledge, through being able to, in a respectful and knowledgeable way, to influence others. That's what it's always been about. You can do that in a number of ways. You can leave a comment on this video, for instance, for others to read. And every time you make a comment, it helps others. It further substantiates the fact to others that there's other people out there thinking like I do. You can share this video. Do you remember the first time you ever heard Rush Limbaugh? I do, and I didn't get on. I didn't hear him when he first came on. I think that was like 88. I first heard him around 90. I think I was busy. I owned a gym. I didn't pay much attention. I didn't listen to news much or talk radio. And the first time I remember, I was sitting in my office designing a new front page for the magazine that I published, and I turned it on. Somebody suggested, I think it was my mother actually, and she said, "Hey, that's a guy." I didn't know whether his name was Rush or Rust or Russ or whatever like that. Says, "Yeah, he used to be here in Kansas City. Was on a radio station here or some rock station, and he worked for the Royals, and he's really growing nationally." So I turned him on. The first time that I heard him, my world changed. Now, I didn't necessarily, well, yeah, I learned a lot from Rush over the years, but he didn't change the way I thought. But I had been feeling like nobody in the world felt the way I did about things. I was surrounded by, because I worked, my gyms were in college towns. I was surrounded by students and teachers and professors. I said, these people are nuts. They don't have, but I'll still make, money off of them. But these people are crazy. And of course, all the news was left slanted. And the first time I heard Rush, I said, wow, that's exactly the way I feel. And it was like all of a sudden having a new best friend that you just met. A place that I could go and listen to 3 hours of sanity a day. You probably felt pretty much the same way, right? Well, you see the effect that you can have on people when you talk, when you express an opinion, and you help them support what they already think. Some people you can change their mind. I had a young lady who worked for me in a gym, and she was very, very liberal. And when I took them through their training, I talked a lot about politics in the world and things like that. And she moved away. She went to another college. A couple of years later, I got a letter from her. She said, "I want to thank you," something to this effect. I'm not quoting. Dear Mr. Smith, I want to thank you so much for all the time that you spent talking about the world and politics and things like that. She says, "When I first started listening to you, I thought you were crazy. I thought even you might be a little hateful, but I stayed in the training program because I wanted to go through the program. The more I listened to you, the more it made sense. And then I started studying these things that you recommended." I always tell people you need to read Atlas Shrugged. If you haven't read Atlas Shrugged, it's the second book, well, after the Bible, and then read my books, but then read Atlas Shrugged. It's the books, a couple of you might have read it. It's the book that they say millions have started and hundreds have finished, but it is the book about self-sufficiency, about what's happening in our world. I won't go into it anymore. Look it up if you don't know. And she says, and I became, she says, after listening to you, after studying what you had suggested, I started the Young Republicans Club and she told me, well, it was at Southwest Missouri State University, which is now, I think, just Missouri State. It's down in Springfield, Missouri. She started the Young Conservatives or Young Republican Club or something like that, and she turned into a firebrand of promoting proper government, self-reliance, and all those principles that we consider to be conservative. So it does have an effect. You have to have an effect. This is your fight. You know, I've said that the reason that people don't rise up is because you can't get enough people upset at the same things at the same time. And then also you need a leader. And then all great movements have a martyr. And we have that now. We have the realization among the majority of Americans now of just how corrupt and inept Biden is. And what has been revealed about him, we all knew it. But now they're admitting to it. And the people who didn't want to admit to it are seeing it and having to see to it. And what this does is illustrate the corruption that covered it up. And then the corruption of so many other things, including the persecution of an actual leader. And if you don't think that he's a leader for the right things, you're wrong. This is the leader that has risen. Okay? And then it needs a martyr. And guys, here is the martyr whose persecution has probably illustrated the corruption of the system to more people in more ways than anything we've ever had since the founding of America or the United States. I know. America was here. So, there you have it for today. It is now real. The fight is now on. This next few months is going to be something like I don't think we've ever seen before. Is Joe going to stay? Is he going to go? Who's going to come in? You need to be paying attention on a daily basis. And I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it. Okay? So anyway, leave your comment down below. Share this with as many people. Please give it a like if you want. That helps from what I'm told. And this is the way that I try to get my opinion out and influence people and inform people and give my opinion. And you can agree with it or not agree with it. That's up to you. But this is how we have to fight it. And we have only a few months to do it in. Because if we don't win this one, America will never be great again. Okay, like I said, you can get these now. They're up on their website, I think. So if you want them, get them. It's a beautiful cup. It's a beautiful cup. It's the most amazing cup there's ever been. It's beautiful. It's absolutely outstanding. It's just a cup that will make everything in it just taste so much better. So much better. Okay. You all have a good day. Remember that America needs a reversion. It needs you to be a part of it. It needs me to be a part of it. It needs everybody that we can influence to be a part of it. That's the only chance we have at turning this ship around. Because if it doesn't, it's going down. Okay, you all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.